All right, well, pretty much, growing up here in South Philly, it's been a wild ride, I can remember back to when I was a kid, there was always a lot of competition, with the kids around here. There's always a lot of kids, a lot of sports. And growing up, it's real easy to get in trouble here. It's really hard to keep the straight and narrow. And I faced a lot of hardships, growing up. I never grew up with a dad. It's been rough, living with my grandparents and stuff like that. It was really rough. And I realized at an early age that, everyone here seems, and again, not downing anybody from where I live, but everyone seems to be pretty closed-minded. And what I mean by that is that their mind only goes to a certain extent. Like, they don't think past a certain point. They're pretty much, satisfied being satisfactory. And I never felt like that. I always wanted more out of my life. I just wanted to do something bigger and better. I knew that there was more out here. And by an early age, I pretty much conquered all South Philly. As far as, like, a lot of people that live here don't get out much from this area. They go to the Jersey Shore to go vacate. That was never a vacation for me. I never thought as Jersey as okay, this is the end all of nice paradise places. No, not by any means. This is the Jersey Shore is not really that nice. But later in life, I grew to know that there are nice places, nice exotic places of beaches that I do like. I'm a beach bum, and by traveling all through the country, I got a chance to see that. And I think at an early age, this is what I wanted to do. Wrestling is what I wanted to do. I loved it since I was 4 years old. My grandmother used to take me to the Civic Center with my mother, my aunt, and we used to go watch all the guys from NWA, Magnum TA and Nikita Koloff for their best of 7 at the Civic Center, and just guys like Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, I used to see on a weekly basis. They used to have weekly shows at the Civic Center here in Philly. And, WWE used to come to the Spectrum about once every month and a half, and I used to catch the shows when they come down there. And I just, I lived off this, man. This is wrestling's always made me, I always felt like it was an escape out of here, and I do like where I grew up because it's made me so much street smarter and wise to a lot of things that I think a lot of people don't get exposed to at a very young age. But like I said, I needed to get out. I knew there was more to just this. A lot of people just want to stay here, and this is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to get out. I wanted to see more of the world, and I think by the time I was maybe about 12 years old, I was riding my bike into Jersey and just trying to go as far as I can go without, actually getting in a car or taking a bus somewhere. Just trying to see where I can go. And I traveled all over South Philly. I know, like the back of my hand. Everywhere up North Philly, Southwest Philly, the whole Philadelphia. I would just go at a real young age and just, I just knew that there was just more out there, and I wanted to get there. I didn't know how, and I seen wrestling as one of my only escapes out of here. I started in wrestling. I was doing backyard wrestling like everybody once does. People want to mock it, but we used to get a bunch of us used to get together and used to film ourselves doing daily episodes. We used to do our editing at the house, make music videos, just like a regular wannabe wrestling show. And we used to go down to the old Senior Citizen Center if we wasn't getting kicked out of there, and breaking all their light bulbs and setting shit on fire and doing everything pretty much illegal. But we had a lot of fun doing it. ECW at the time had opened up, and which was really big here in Philly. And I used to go down to the arena all the time, where we have our school at now. So growing up and watching ECW really made me want to wrestle more. I always loved wrestling for everything, the acting and the charisma and all that stuff. But what made me really want to do it, and I have to really give a lot of credit to ECW from being around here, and this was such a hotbed of wrestling. Watching these guys come in here and doing stuff that, you know, I was interested in seeing stuff that I like doing. And that's what we were kind of emulating in backyard wrestling. We were doing, you know, some of the stuff we used to see on ECW and trying to take it up a notch. And how I got started was there was an old valet in ECW named Angel Amoroso. Her and I went to the same grade school together. She was in 8th grade when I was in like 3rd grade. And she got exposed to wrestling at a very young age like me. And by the time I was a freshman in high school, like I said, I was doing backyard wrestling, and she was running independent shows here in Philly. She just left ECW, and this was in '95. And basically I went up to her and I said, you know, hey Ange, I can't help seeing that you're running a show here at Fitzwater Street near, you know, at the rec center. And I was wondering if, you know, you can look at this tape of me and my boy Billy wrestling and, you know, tell me if, you know, what you think. I knew nothing about the business. I knew nothing about nothing. I just went there and just talked to her as a woman I grew up with, you know. And she was like, oh yeah, you know, sure. You know, I'll take a look at it. And, you know, after a couple days, I talked to her again, and she was just like, oh yeah, well, you want to come down the show? Okay, I'll put you guys on first match. You know, like, it was no big deal. Like, she didn't give a crap. You know, needless to say, we only had like maybe 15 to 20 people at the show, but it was definitely an experience. I remember not wanting to lose in my hometown. Like, it was really it was really wild, man. It was definitely something that I knew that I wanted to do from the first time I got in the locker room, and I just was like in awe of everything. I was like, man, there's so much here that I need to accomplish and I need to do. It's weird talking about it, you know. It's just like, at the time I just knew. There's no other way of putting it. It's something I wanted to do. You know, people say, especially like, you know, priests or something, that may be a little extreme. Priests say, oh, you know, my whole life, you know, God was calling me to do this. Like, yeah, I feel like this has definitely been a calling for me to do this. And that's basically how I started. She was running shows, and she was running shows about once a month, once every 2 months here, and I just started wrestling the shows, and I was, you know, wrestling as, you know, Trent Acid, which is the name I thought of, and I stuck with the same name. And then I was doing a Phantom gimmick where, you know, I was wearing a hood and I just basically got beat up by guys. But I was on the shows twice. I was wrestling twice on the show, so I didn't care. Oh, I'm wrestling twice on the show, great. You know, I didn't. You know, that seemed like the best thing in the world to me. So, I mean, mind you, at 14 and 15 years old, I was 14 when I had my first match. 15 years old now, I'm wrestling for, you know, Jersey All-Pro Wrestling. I started wrestling for them when I was 15. Excuse me. And then there was TCW, which was Angel's company that she was running for. And I was also wrestling for ECPW, was a company run by a man named Gino Caruso in North Jersey. I did a couple shows for him. He was running some small shows. I was doing them down there. So, you know, here I am wrestling now in like 3 different places, and I got to meet with some of the other guys, like Mars was on the shows, Scorpio, a lot of the guys that were that I used to watch coming up, and were here with me on the same shows, and I was just like, wow, you know, this is pretty nuts. You know, here I am, 15 years old, you know, and I met with some of the other guys like Reckless Youth, Mike Keener, Don Montoya, who were big in this area, who were just starting to get big working for NWA, Dennis Carluzzo, who I'd also do sporadic shows for, but I was really young. They couldn't really have me on the shows if I was just managing, or there was no commission around, then they'd be able to sneak me on the show. Thanks, Dennis. God bless you. But yeah, it was really a weird time for me. With school, I started, you know, not giving a crap about school. I left Catholic school, private school, and I started going to public school, and I realized the art of cutting class, which was definitely which definitely came back to haunt me. I, thank God, got my diploma during school, but I went through 5 different high schools to get it. So you know, wrestling, and I was training 4 days a week. Training 4 days a week in North Philly, which I'm sure people won't see it on this tape, but it was pretty bad neighborhood, especially as a white kid. getting off the, you know, the L, which stands for the elevated train, you know, for those of you who don't know. Walking like 12 blocks through these really bad, destitute areas, and I'm, you know, thinking, well, damn, the projects are 3 blocks from my house, but I'm really asking for it here, you know. I'm not really doing the smartest thing, but I didn't care. Wrestling, just, you know, we rolled deep. We rolled like 3-4 of us deep, and just, we didn't care. We were just like, you know, screw it. It's just some Italian guys coming through, some white Italian kids coming through in these bad neighborhoods, and we just want to wrestle, man. We don't give a crap about anything, you know. And training with guys like Reckless Youth and Don Montoya, Mike Keener, again, I say, like, they helped me out so much. Guys like New Jack, you know, even. And I know New Jack is definitely has quite a reputation, but I'm going to tell you this. The man is definitely a genius when it comes to wrestling. And I know genius is a very extreme word, but I will use it with him because he knows. He has it upstairs. He's true to this game. He's a true worker, and he taught me the art of making it look real. You know, without killing somebody, but making them believe that you're really going to inflict some pain and harm into them, and bring it out in your character, bring that aggressiveness out, you know, how a wrestler should be. And he basically said to me, me and a couple of my friends, he said, we were learning to do some arm drags, and he told me, he goes, all right, listen, I'm going to show you how to do this one time. You guys mess up, I'm going to get up and punch you in the face. So when you're hearing that from a guy who's in his prime at ECW, a place where you're obviously, you know, looking up to, and you have this big guy who's about 6'1", 240 pounds or whatever, and he's telling you how he's going to knock you out if you don't do your move right the first time, you're probably going to do it right the first time. So needless to say, my arm drags are phenomenal to this day, and I have him to thank for that. And I'll always remember New Jack as one of those guys. I mean, I had broken my wrist, and I was actually starting to instruct guys there, and I showed a guy how to do a headlock takedown, and he wound up landing on my arm, and I broke my growth plate bone on my wrist, and he was the only guy that came in there and helped me out. Like, it started getting nuts, man. There was so much competition. We started learning. We started working all these places, and all of a sudden, you just realize guys weren't being friends anymore. They started, like, people were turning against each other. It was really weird. It was, you know, the business started changing, and like friendships and stuff. People started getting real competitive at the gym. And when I hate to say this, but when I got hurt, it was almost like there were people there that were glad that I was hurt, because they looked at me as competition, and I was one of the top guys there. You couldn't get me out of that gym. I was there 4 days a week, regardless of if I was going to school or not. I was made sure I was always at the wrestling school. I was always doing what I had to do there. And I'm an all or none type of person. If I'm, you know, I can't half-ass nothing. If I put all my efforts into something, I'm going to be the best at it. And you know, that's how it's been my whole life. And that's what I was doing there. And I was really, I was a threat to some people. So when I got hurt, he was the only guy that came out and actually helped me. He took me to the car. He came to the hospital with me and my mother, and made sure my arm was okay. And you know, I can never forget something like that. It's not that big of a deal, but at the time, it kind of was for me. And you know, being a teenager in a man's business, and you're forced to grow up so quick. You know, I came into this wrestling business as an orphan, yeah, pretty much. You know, and not knowing much. You know, just no real schooling. You know, just going to a gym and learning off other wrestlers and stuff like that, and doing what I had to do. I was my own motivation. I had to motivate myself to go every day. I had to motivate myself to, you know, to better myself. And nobody else was doing it for me. No one cared enough about me. I didn't have no one looking out for me. You know, my family's had enough problems. You know, no one was really, you know, they see me messing up in school. They didn't care about me wrestling. They were like, you know, you should be doing your schoolwork. I didn't want to hear it. You know, school wasn't interesting to me. It wasn't that I couldn't do the work. I was an honor student up until I got into high school. And, you know, I go in the honor tracks my first year, you know, and by the end of the year, I'm flunking out of them, and I'm in, you know, the dummy classes. But that was, again, by choice, not, you know, this is what I wanted to do. And every little bit I started, it was like a sponge. Every little bit I started absorbing, I wanted more. I wanted more. And again, I was wrestling by the time the Angel had closed down. And I was doing some work for Jersey All Pro, again, some sporadic work for NWA. And I dealt with this for a good about 3.5 years until I turned 18. But right before I turned 18, it was a real important part of my life because I was just finishing school, and the Pitbulls, Gary Wolf and Anthony Durante. Anthony, who's no longer with us, started opening a school on Passyunk Avenue with a man called Izzy Aviles, who was a jeweler, and he opened up a company called GWA, the Grande Wrestling Alliance, and that's where I met my tag team partner right now, currently, Johnny Cashmere, and some other guys like Wife Beater, and man, it was a real crazy time because here I am, all of a sudden I just started helping train people there, and only wrestling for like 4 or 4.5 years, and yeah, I just been learning so much, but never really wrestling on many shows to show what I had. And by the time I came into my own, they were just like, where did this kid come from? You know, where he's only 18, but he knows all this stuff. I just started putting everything that I learned finally to the test. I started trying to like help other guys, and I started working all the time for Izzy Aviles for the GWA as one of their top lightweights. And then Valentine's Day, actually, my grandmother passed, who was a big part of my life. And when she passed when I was 18, I remember that I felt like maybe about two weeks after she passed, that there was something that was happening to me. I was starting to change, and I felt more on my own than ever. I felt like I had an angel on my shoulder, and she was, you know, the one that used to take us, like I said, when I was 4 or 5 years old, to the Civic Center, and now I felt like she was finally watching over me, and you can't describe something like this. I can't do a justification by talking about it. But anyone who's lost a loved one or could know that, you know, having that pretty much angel on your shoulder, somebody you're very close to. She was like a mother to me, like a second mother. You know, she used to pick me up from school, take me out to lunch, and it was a really hard thing for me to do. You know, I didn't, like I said, growing up with not much here. You know, not much money. You know, no dad. You know, just a little small immediate family, and you know, you lose one of your cornerstones of your family. It's a big blow to everyone involved. You know, and at that time when she had passed, the only thing that kept me sane and the only thing that kept me normal, because I did so bad in school, was the fact that I was wrestling. And if I didn't have the wrestling, God, I don't know where I'd be today. And I gave up everything else at that point for it. And I just started working more places. I was 18. I was mature by being forced to be mature by so young. By the time I was 18, I was getting treated like a 21, 22-year-old dude. And I started getting work in more places. GWA had closed down, and I was working for more like smaller independent companies, and the company was just opened up called CZW and Combat Zone Wrestling, run by a guy named John Zandig. And he started running his own company because he didn't like how the business was per se and the guys in it. So he wanted to make something fresh with all people who were basically good and unknown, but were willing to take that risk more than anybody else. Basically, you know, ECW was coming to an end, and you know, it was like it was just a really crazy time. It was like I felt like finally I was a part of something that we were creating. And when we started going down to John Zandig's school, we started, when I say we, I mean Johnny Cashmere, Wife Beater, started going down there and we started wrestling, and all of a sudden we started a big deal with this company where we're doing this every single month. We're the top guys there, and we're some of the youngest guys in wrestling. And you know, it was like it was a real crazy time. It was like I felt like finally I was a part of something that we were creating. And when we started going down to John Zandig's school, we started, when I say we, I mean Johnny Cashmere, Wife Beater, started going down there and we started wrestling, and all of a sudden we started a big deal with this company where we're doing this every single month. We're the top guys there, and we're some of the youngest guys in wrestling. And before we know it, about a year and a half's time, we got a deal with Japan. And here I am going overseas at 19 years old in Japan, which was, God, coming from here, where, as I said, everybody's so, kind of closed-minded to a lot of things. It was definitely a big eye-opening experience, having to survive for 3-4 weeks at a time when you don't know any Japanese or anything like that, and you're in a different country, and you're about, 170 pounds, 180 pounds soaking wet. And actually, I think I was more than that. That was probably about 190. Anyhow, it still didn't make no difference. It was definitely, I definitely at that time felt that I have arrived, that I've, wow, I've actually gotten something out of this. Here I am, coming from nothing, and I'm in Japan, 5.5 years later. So at that point, I could say that I was really proud of myself, and I felt like I really stepped up and accomplished something. And then I started gaining a little more respect from my family and my peers, and they knew it wasn't a joke anymore. They knew that, oh, this kid's just not doing it. He's actually trying and accomplishing things. Starting with our Japan deals and stuff, we started wrestling more for Dennis Carluzzo. We still running NWA, and obviously remembered us as, from when I was younger. I always kept in touch with Dennis and Gino and all those guys. And a guy that worked for him by the name of Donnie B, who was more like a mentor, definitely to Johnny and I. He was, doing the booking and some of the promoting for the shows, and he came up with the idea of, first they originally wanted 4 of us, basically a Backstreet Boys ripoff of, but to the wrestling fan, to flashy clothes, dancing and stuff like that. They had after we were doing it for a good year and a half, we had, if you remember, 3 count, kind of something to that effect. WCW, when they had 3 count, was pretty much what the backseat boys was originally supposed to be. But Johnny and I showed up at a show, and the other 2 guys didn't show up. Donnie B was just like, yeah, well, just kind of go out there and just see what's going to happen, just kind of feel it out. Yeah, it's just we'll give you guys a Backstreet Boys song, come out, play to the little girls, because they were doing a lot of shows in high schools and stuff like that. So there was a lot of smaller girls there, all screeching, screaming for us. And from the first time we went out there, it was just like, it was obviously something different than what I was used to from the gimmick I was doing. And I got to play on my charisma more, which is something that, I have a very strong personality. So it was good to be able to express that. And I had a really good time creating the Backstreet Boys with Johnny Cashmere and Donnie B. Donnie B started managing us as Big 80s Donnie B, and he come out he had a Miami Vice suit, one of the Don Johnson suits that he had. He actually got it off of eBay and began wearing it. And it was funny because Donnie B was always in shape. His twin brother Nova, who's now working for the WWE, they were always in shape, and he started really teaching me, well, if you want to be a wrestler and you want to look the part, you have to start getting in shape. And I credit Donnie B, for helping me get to that next level as a wrestler. He started, saying this is what you guys need for this gimmick. We started playing on it more. And every show, we just started thinking of more things we can do, more things we do. Finally, within a couple months, we're like the hottest thing on the indies, man. We're just wrestling everywhere for all these different people, and everyone wanted to use me and Johnny and Donnie B. We're going now to we're going down to Trinidad and Tobago, which was awesome. We wrestled on the first show that was there for about 25 years. Then we did a little tour of Alaska, which the first time they had a show there in about 15 years. So it was nuts, man. There were big crowds down there. You go from being in the extreme tropical weather in Trinidad, then the next week being in Fairbanks and Anchorage, where it was 17 below. So it was just being able to do that, like 1 week saying, oh, I was in Trinidad, oh, I was in Alaska. It was just like, you know, wow, this stuff is all surreal, you know. It was just a really fun time I remember in my life, that I was just like, I just felt myself getting better. I started getting in shape with guys like Nova and Donnie B around, always helping us, you know, well, we got, you know, you guys got to start taking protein, you got to start doing this and doing that. Start tanning, start working out. I started doing that, and I just became a machine. I just, you know, I felt, well, I trained for the past 6 years of getting better and being a better wrestler. Now it's time to put it into my body. And, you know, and I did that. And I worked out tremendously hard, and, you know, just kept on for the next almost over 2 years. We were back and forth to Japan. We signed with a company called Big Japan. We were under contract for, again, over 2 years with CZW. We had TV, because ECW again had closed down, and by this time ECW had closed down, and we had a channel down here which was called 48, but it was ECW used to be on channel 48, so everyone watched it, and we were on TV every week, so everyone was being able to watch me too. So again, everything we were doing at CZW was beginning to be documented, and everyone from around the neighborhood and everything used to see me and be like, oh yeah, let's go watch on TV, and like, oh, we seen you on TV, and like stuff like that. So it was all these things just started happening out of nowhere. It was like a snowball, man. Everything just started getting better and better. But you know, this is what I did. I mean, you can't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I want to be a wrestler. Like, it's not like that. You know, you've got a lot of guys that don't really understand how hard it really is to do this. You got to eat, breathe, and sleep wrestling. You know, you got to be walking down the street and just, you know, be thinking of what your next gimmick or you're going to do, or you know, how you're going to wrestle this match coming up, or and stuff like that. You got to, you know, every weekend, you know, you have a different show, and God, I'd be wrestling for 2-3 different companies a weekend, and just you got to know what to do, what the fans want, you know, not to hurt yourself. You got to look after yourself. Traveling on the road, you don't have much time for a lot of personal relationships except for the people that you're traveling with and stuff you're doing. So you begin living this life. You're not used to it. You begin living this life that everything is new and everything's exciting, and you don't really care about anything else that's going on around you. You just want to better yourself, and you just want to perform. That's it. And that's about loving it. You know, that's about really wanting to do something where, yeah, I'm getting paid, you know, finally well to do this, and you're just like, the money's not important. You don't care about the money. So just by seeing everyone happy that you're in their town, a place that you would never ever see or never ever be at if you weren't wrestling there. And you know, God, I've seen so many things that I, you know, never thought I'd see. Probably some things I never really wanted to see, but needless to say, it was all a learning experience, and it's a very good one, because you know, I wouldn't be, you know, who I am today if it wasn't for all that.